A very hearty welcome to this class. Today we'll begin this class on pedagogy of sciences. Of course, the pedagogy of sciences has three subdivisions: pedagogy of physics, pedagogy of chemistry, and pedagogy of biology. Here in this class, certain examples I have taken from the biological sciences, but definitely it will cover the pedagogy of physics and chemistry also. So all of you are welcome to witness this class. In this class, we are going to deal with the Unit 1. The title of the Unit 1 is Pedagogical Underpinning. The pedagogy, the meaning you know, and here underpinning, a new word we find, and this very simple dictionary meaning or lexicographic meaning of underpinning is a set of ideas, motives, or devices which justify or form the basis of something. That means certain things under the pedagogy of our science we must be knowing, or we must have some group of ideas, or let us say we need to have a strong foundations which is associated with the pedagogy of our method paper. And here usually the question comes, in school we teach science, and science finds a very important place in the school curriculum. So we should be knowing why the science is incorporated in the science curriculum as a compulsory subject. So for that, certain reasons we have to find out in this class. For our normal experiences also at home, usually, suppose if you have a cupboard, in that cupboard, what things would you like to keep? Usually we keep certain things which are very valuable, expensive, or very useful, or very you find it's worth keeping it. I mean, it has some importance, and that importance will help you to do certain work comfortably. So such type of things usually we keep in our home also. So same logic we apply in this school curriculum, why the science is taken as a compulsory subject. So under that, we try to understand what is the place of science in a school curriculum, and what may be the reasons. So here you can find out that many reasons which can be enlisted to ensure that, of course, it may be life science or physics or chemistry in education at a school stage has been considered as a compulsory subject. And because the development in the field are one of the men's major intellectual and creative achievements, especially in the field of science. And these developments are only of value when ordinary people can appreciate them and can help them to act responsibly in an increasingly technological world. and permit him to appreciate the values and powers as well as the limitations of science. The aim of teaching science it can be attained only when this subject forms an adequate part of curriculum of every students. It's an introductory note I can say. Here specifically we try to understand why the science is being included in the school curriculum as a very important and essential subject. The reasons are there are various values associated with this subject, science. So in this particular figure, you can see the values of life sciences. It is equally applicable to the values of teaching physics and chemistry too. So number one point, here the importance of sciences in mental discipline. In short term, we call it as intellectual value. And in this number one, the word mental discipline, that means mental word derives from the word mind. So mind is to be disciplined. So while teaching science, mind also gets disciplined. And discipline of the mind is possible through intellect. And this intellect is to be strengthened by right kind of knowledge. And strong intellect can guide a good guidance to the mind. The mind starts to function very smoothly and systematically. So that's why the science teaching helps to develop the intellect or intellectual development. So we teach science in this school for intellectual development so that it will enhance the mental discipline. Similarly, second point is utility of sciences in daily life, or science has utilitarian value. It's very useful in our day-to-day life. And this will deal in detail. Similarly, the science also imbibes some moral values also among the learners. Similarly, the cultural value also will be enhanced while teaching the science. If you refer some of the books, you will find besides these four specific values which are reflected in this particular figure, fifth point they mention as vocational importance, sixth point as aesthetic value or aesthetic importance, seventh point economic importance as such. However, this vocational, aesthetic and economical importance in this particular lesson is incorporated with the utilitarian value. So now let us understand this first value, intellectual value or importance of teaching sciences in mental discipline in rather detail through this figure. Here you can see the intellectual value. The learning in science gives a stock of factual knowledge, some skills and particular attitude. I would like to see here while teaching science, it provides the factual knowledge based on the facts. It will also develop the scientific attitude, and it also develops the various types of skills. So here in the knowledge, usually whenever we learned science in the school days, lots of factual knowledge we gained around about the world where we are living. Here in the knowledge part, in this particular portion, you can see the examples are taken from the biological science. So while learning biological science in the school, the learners come to know about the structure and functions of various organisms, various life processes, for example, photosynthesis, respiration, nutrition, locomotion and movement, and so on. Similarly, the basic unit of life, the cell, interrelation of plants and animals, place of man in the universe, evolution, heredity, ecological principles, etc. So this example I have taken from the biological science. Similarly, you can think about the chemistry and the physics. In chemistry, we learned about the atoms, molecules, metals, non-metals, different states of matter, solid, liquid, gas. Similarly, various types of organic substances which you use in our daily life. From physics point of view, you can think like we learned about the light, heat, magnetism, electrostatistics, and so on. So you can add various aspect of the factual knowledge which we have learned while learning the science in the school itself. Then while learning the science, let us come to this right side. Automatically the scientific attitude will be developed. It is related with our affective domain of educational aim. Some of the attitude developing activities are focused in this particular slide, like maintaining mathematical accuracy in every type of recording. In science, we do lots of experimentation and we have to record it also. And that recording is to be done accurately, sincerely, honestly. Similarly, a scientific attitude also emphasizes on the desire for verification of claims and hypotheses, various hypotheses, assumptions we make, and it is to be verified. And a student has the strong desire to verify any claims or hypotheses, so that student or that learner we consider as having a scientific attitude, a person with scientific attitude. A person with scientific attitude is very impartial towards any ideas and events, and the person is always objective and also has the desire for undertaking experimental work. So this is about the attitude. Now let us come to the skill. While learning science, consciously or unconsciously, various skills will be developed among the learners. Some of the common skills include experimental skills, constructional skills, drawing skills. You remember during our school days or the college days, in the science lab notebook, how many diagrams we used to draw. So besides that, many scientific activities are based on our inquiry. Why it happened, how it happened, no, this type of question arises in the mind of the learner. So that type of skill is called inquiry. And in investigative approach of learning the science, this inquiry skill is highly developed. Similarly, thinking skills. And this thinking skill, we can say, while learning science, we develop our thinking pattern in two ways. We become a critical thinker or and creative thinker also. So these skills which helps to solve many problems associated with our day-to-day life, so that these things can be imbibed while teaching science. And all this knowledge, attitude, and skills will strengthen the intellect, and it will discipline the mind also. We start to act very in a disciplined manner. Or let us say our learners also starts to act in a disciplined way. So this is very important factor. That's why we teach science as a compulsory subject in school. Then in this chapter, we can find out another importance of teaching science, because it is very useful in our daily life. That's why it is, in short form, it is also known as a utilitarian value. And in this figure, you can see the utilitarian values are many. Some of the utilitarian values are reflected here. Let us say from the top, while learning science, we get lots of answers to our personal questions. It also helps an individual to become intelligent citizen. And learning of the science has direct impact with the human health. And while learning science in the school days only, later on it can pave the path for opting any professions or vocations. And while learning science, our aesthetic values also gets imbibed. Similarly, while learning the science, we understand the economic importance of learning the science and to improve the economic standard of the society, or that also of the nation. So let us take the first part, that is answers to our personal questions in rather detail. Like whenever we learn science, certain very common questions, it arises in our mind, which is happening in our day-to-day life. So some of the peculiar questions, very pertinent questions, we can say, that arise in the human mind. The answer of those questions can be given by learning the biological science. In this picture, you can see some of the pertinent questions. How twins are born? What determines sex? Gender? How are we, human beings, are dependent on the plants? How do we become very weak in old age? How do we acquire immunities against diseases? This time, this corona period, COVID-19 time, many of them are talking about that, how to boost the immunity. So the answer is given by the biological science here. And another questions like, how do babies resemble their parents? So these are some of the questions related with the biological science. So likewise, some questions can be answered by physics and chemistry's learning. Some of the questions like, Why do stars and moon go away during the daytime? Why does a hydrogen gas filled balloon rise up on like a ball? Ball also filled with gas, balloon also filled with gas, but ball comes down, balloon goes up. What may be the reason? Similarly, how is light produced in the room on presenting, on pressing a switch? Similarly, during winter, why does that iron pipe, water pipe made up of iron gets burst? So this type of questions usually arises in the human mind. So the answer we get from learning the sciences. Now, in this utilitarian values only, the teaching of science helps the learner to become an intelligent citizen. So, whom can we consider as an intelligent citizen? Here in this figure, you can see an intelligent citizen is aware of this proper sanitation. They take balanced diet. They take lots of measure for prevention of various types of diseases. They look for this scarcity of the food, or how to produce more and quality food. And nowadays the world is inflicted with the problem of overpopulation. So intelligent citizens thinks about how to resolve this problem of overpopulation. Similarly, an intelligent citizen looks for or works for the conservation of flora and fauna, or let us say the natural resources. Intelligent citizen always we can find as a free from superstitions and also witchcraft practices, or they try to find out the scientific reason behind like some superstitious practices also. And similarly, like the certain agricultural activities like farming or animal husbandry side, so there how to implement the scientific principle, the intelligent citizen know very clearly. So we would like to make our new generation or the learners to become an intelligent citizen. So see, while teaching science or making a science as a compulsory subject in the school, it always tries to make the learner an intelligent citizen. Similarly, here the title is somehow it is missing here. I would like to add verbally only. Here, just above this particular sentence, one title is to be added, that is the science and the health. Especially here, the examples are taken from life science. So we teach science in the school, and it has a strong connection with the human health. In terms of life science, we can talk about the certain diseases which can be cured nowadays. And here you can see the different type of diseases which usually the human being in the present days face. Some of them are like infectious disease caused by virus, bacteria, protozoa, fungi, and worms. At present, this COVID-19 is also caused by the virus. And similarly, the people in the society, they are suffering from degenerative diseases like those of heart and nervous system. Similarly, people suffer from deficiency diseases, and those deficiency diseases are caused by the deficiency of certain proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals in the diet. You must have experiences. Sometimes we have the problem with the allergies, and these allergies are caused by certain substances which are not suiting to the body. For example, some people, when they eat brinjal and all, they develop rashes. Some with the aches, some with the pollen grains, like that. Hmm? And at present, the another kind of a diseases that is called cancers, which is also called as malignant growth or uncontrolled growth of the cells in the body. So now we can see the science or life sciences has tried to find out almost all the solutions of the different diseases which we have mentioned just now. At present, we have sulfa drugs, different types of antiseptics, antibiotics, antiseptic surgery also possible. Hmm? You must have heard that the transplantation of various human organs like heart, kidney, cornea, some of them are trying to transplant the liver also. And now we have various types of injections, vaccines to treat different type of diseases. These X-rays and radiotherapy to treat some of the diseases or to cure certain defects in the human body. Similarly, the blood transfusion is also possible. The amputated legs can be replaced with the artificial limbs. It is also known as the Jaipur foot. You must have heard Sudha Chandran's story. Sudha Chandran is an actress in television, and long time back she came up with one movie, Nachi Mayuri. Jhum 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 jhum, Nachi Mayuri. There she has danced with her artificial limbs also. So see, these artificial limbs is the contribution of biological science. Of course, the knowledge of physics and chemistry is also there. Similarly, if we follow the principles of balanced diet, that can cure many diseases, especially the deficiency diseases. And now to cure the diseases like cancer also, lots of trials are going on. And now also many biologists in the field of medicines, they are working on it to find out the right kind of medicines for treating the different types of diseases. So in this utilitarian values only, we'd like to discuss here right now about the vocational importance. We teach science and it has a very strong vocational importance. Or we can say, in a simple term, the teaching of science has a bread and butter value. That means the student can choose a profession or vocation of his or her taste in future. Like, if they take the biological science in their future studies also later on, they can adopt the profession like doctor, nurse, agriculturist, biochemist, microbiologist, teacher. And similarly, they can specialize in any branches of the discipline life sciences. And they can specialize in fisheries, cattle and poultry management, soil sciences, canning and food preservation, plant breeding, embryologist, they can become genetist. They can also specialize in forestry. They can be a physiologist. They can specialize in dairy sciences. They can become environmentalist. and of course a scientist of great fame. So here different vocations or professions examples are taken from biological science. Now it is up to you, like if you specialize in physics and chemistry, what type of professions or vocations can be adopted by the learners in the near future. Let us come to the another utilitarian value, utilitarian aspects of learning science, that is also known as the aesthetic importance. In this aesthetic importance, we can say the science is a beauty, science is an art, it is a source of entertainment and a successful means of attaining physical comforts. Usually, like if you go to a very beautiful place, like in Sikkim, if you go to Yumthang and all, or if you visit any beautiful part of Sikkim, or whole India, or the world at such also, a beautiful place, natural place, no scenic beauties there. So there is a sit in silence for some time without talking to anyone. No, after some time you feel refreshed. That's why it's a recreational value. So science gives us a recreational value. Of course, in the physics and like chemistry, especially the physics, the recreation values goes with the like watching movies. These things also comes here. But especially in this aspect, I would like to cite the example from the biological science here. Lots of recreational value we can imbibe. That's why nowadays some of the famous human activities are coming up, like ecotourism. Some people, they feel very happy in watching the different types of birds, and they make video. They get appreciations, and people go for hiking, trekking, the different places of interest. And some people, they make the leisure time pursuit very fruitful by taking the hobby of like photography, a beautiful scene, or like different animals and flowers which are available in the immediate locality also. And all these things comes under the aesthetic importance. And similarly, another utilitarian value are having the economic importance. All the plants and animals in this world, they have the economic importance. In a nutshell, we can say that different plants and even the animals are considered, and they have a medicinal value. Especially, I would like to emphasize on the various types of herbs, shrubs, which are found in the Sikkim belt, which is also considered as the hotspot of biodiversity. It's very, very rich with the plants having medicinal value. And consumptive value means here whatever we consume in our day-to-day life in terms of our food, shelter, and clothing, we consume from the nature itself only. Food we get from the plants and animal source. Similarly, shelter also. For shelter also we have to depend upon the plants. And for clothing also, different sources of our cloth comes from the plants and of course animals. Plants like silk, from silkworm, and cotton. These are the sources of our clothes. And similarly, raw materials for various industries also we get from the nature. And some people, they are involved in the activities like pearl culture, lac culture, sericulture as their career also, and which definitely uplifts the economic status of the person, of the individual. Now, the utilitarian value of teaching science is being discussed. Now, in this slide, you can see the science is also responsible for the moral development among the learners. Like while learning the science, we understand the nature, how nature is flexible. It doesn't remain in a static position. No? It always keeps on changing, very flexible. And nature itself has the potentiality of creativity. It creates. So the flexibility and creativity, it has to be there in the human personality also. So from the nature, these two qualities of flexibility and creativity we can imbibe among the learners and among ourselves also. And while learning the science, we have to do experiment, and sometimes we have to do the group activities like project work and all. So that time interaction will take place, and some of the projects we cannot complete in isolations. We have to depend upon each other, like with other friends. So students also, if we organize the group activity, a group project, or cooperative learning, this type of innovative way of learning, if we organize, so that will help to develop the cooperation. So cooperation is a great value for social development also. But cooperation, we as such we consider as a moral value, and that cooperation, that value will help to develop the social aspects of the human personality. And similarly, whenever the students did do the experimentation, they will come out with the result and certain findings, and their findings has to undergo the scrutiny of their friends or the persons who is expert in that area, and they can look for the criticism from the expert and even from their own friends also. So this will help the learners to accept the criticism constructively, so they can rectify their own findings by convincing from the suggestion given by the experts or even from their fellow friends also. So usually, we do not like to be criticized, but here while teaching the science, this criticism is very important. Constructive criticism, it will help to get the good result rather. And I think in real life also, we after learning the science will be able to face the criticism given by anyone, isn't it? You check yourself, do you like to be criticized? If not, now being a science a science teacher, you can change your mind setup, like let us face any type of criticism constructively and boldly. Similarly, the other values like honesty, love and truth, justice, punctuality, determination, patience, self control, self respect, self confidence, and tolerance are automatically developed in the learners. Tolerance, patience, let us take one value. Some experimentation, suppose you have set up, and that experimentation, to see the result, you have to wait at least for 1 hour or 2 hours, sometimes more than that also. So that time, obviously, the person who is conducting the experiment has to have patience. Without patience, in hurriedly, the person cannot get the result. And punctuality also very important to do the experimentation, and recording of the time, what time the setup was made, and after how many minutes you have to make the observations. So it has to be done sincerely. So that's why this honesty is also an important value which automatically develops while learning the science. And lastly, we teach science in the school, or because it also helps to inculcate the cultural development. Here in this paragraph only, it is very clearly mentioned that science and technology has played a great role in shaping the culture of nations, and it is apparent in case of developed countries. Discoveries and adventures in science have influenced the writers and rulers of times. You know, when I was in the school, so that time in English we had one lesson. It's about the Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner, he was very famous till today because he was the first person to discover the vaccines of chickenpox disease. So there were the days the many people were dying because of that chickenpox disease, and no medicine were available. Just like in today's context, like for COVID-19, the vaccines are not available. So those were the days, and earlier also. But Edward Jenner, with his continuous effort, he discovered that vaccines also. So that story is written, and it became a part of our textbook. And in sometimes I think they must have written in the form of a novel also. So novel or a book. So book is a part of literature, and literature is a part of a culture. So one book is written, the book has the connections in the enrichment of the literature, and literature is the part of the culture. So that way also the cultural upliftment takes place because of the discoveries and adventures which has taken place in the field of science. And some of our day-to-day activities in terms of our way of living, our food, customs, our views, our art and craft, scientific interest, social and economic conditions, all these things determines our standard of life, and it is the culture. Actually, culture is the way of life. So the change in our lifestyle is due to the invention of science, isn't it? Right now also our lifestyle is changed. Earlier, 20 years back, our lifestyle was different, and now lifestyle is different because of the invention of the science. And we can judge the progress of civilization and culture of a nation by its progress in science. Thus, the study of science develops culture of a society and nation. So in a nutshell only it is being mentioned. You can elaborate these points because like in certain cultures, some plants are considered as a holy. For example, tulsi, yeah, people like that. But it has got the scientific values also, and that this practice we can consider is a part of a culture also, and it directly relates with the conservation of the natural resources. And some of the plants like this tulsi people, they have a potentiality of giving out large amount of oxygen comparatively than the other plants. Hmm? Like if tulsi is planted uh, in the external open space of a house, or we can say our agan, in our common language we called agan. So there, if tulsi is planted, and tulsi gives the large amount of oxygen. So when that oxygen presence is more, and the germs or the bacterias, they are anaerobic in nature. Anaerobic means they do not thrive in the presence of the oxygen. They proliferate in the absence of oxygens. So see, the tulsi is giving large amount of oxygen, so there is no chance for bacteria to grow further. So that way, that house remains free from the germs, some of the bacterias, like that. So, and plus it is a conservation of the nature also, and plus it is keeping the people healthy also, and it becomes a part of our culture also. So science is also related with the cultural development. Similarly, you can think further, you can contemplate that in what way the science uplifts the culture of a particular nations. Here we can go on discussing right now, not possible because of the limitation of the time factor. So that's why we come to the concluding part as a end of this lesson. We can find in India this science subjects is being taught in different stages of secondary education in different magnitude, and it has been recommended from time to time. When there were only high schools, the general science books had a few topics on life sciences. That means before independence of India, the science was taught in the high school part, and few topics here it is mentioned about the biology. So in that science book of high schools, last few chapters, one or two chapters were given for the biology part. And the time changed, India became independent, then this one Mudaliar Commission came into being, and it recommended that higher secondary schools of 11 years of duration, and that time the general science was to be taught up to class 8, and from class 9 to class 11 anybody who is interested to take up biology as an optional paper. So that was possible. Then Kothari Commission in 1964-66 came up with the new education pattern of secondary education, that is very famously known as 10+2 system. And in this 10+2 system, biological sciences are taught in integrated form along with the physics and chemistry. And the biological science, the volume, it's compared to that of the before independence era. That time, the very less chapters were given, and now the more increased volume of biological chapters are there in the integrated science. Up to class 10, it is being taught, and if the learners are interested, they can specialize in this subject in class 9, in class 11 and 12 also. Similarly, in physics and chemistry also, they can specialize in class 9 and 12. And very recently, government has launched this new education policy 2020 in India, and there also the science finds a very important or compulsory place in the school curriculum. But this structural pattern will be, I think, it is slightly changed. It is to be further referred. So with this, I wind up this class. If you have any queries, you can interact later on when we have that interactive classes. With this, I wind up. Thank you.